The Albatross actually came into existence from an idea that we had. We were sitting out at the Potter's house smoking hookah because there wasn't a good place in town. Our hookah lounge, or the restaurant that was serving hookah at the time, had closed down or stopped selling hookah. And so I bought a hookah, and it was always the hit at parties. My friends always wanted me to bring it out, and so we did. We just took it around, and it was always the social thing that we gathered around. And so we were out back with our friend Waymond, who works at Just For Him, just discussing the need for a hookah lounge in Springfield, and he just goes, "You should start one." It's like, you know what, I should. And so I had that idea rolling around in my head for 3 years while I was managing a guitar shop downtown in Springfield. I knew that I wanted to start a hookah lounge, just didn't know exactly where, and I kept telling everybody, I'm gonna start a hookah lounge, I'm gonna start a hookah lounge. And they were like, oh yeah, sure you are, Chris. And I was like, no, I think Springfield needs one. I think that it would be a good fit. We opened in September of 2009, and we opened to a bit of trouble initially, just with our building and zoning and codes and all of that. The city didn't know how to approach our business. We're not really a bar, we're not a restaurant, it's not strictly a retail shop. And so we fell into this kind of gray area. So I had a lot of hoops to jump through in the beginning with the city, which was kind of difficult. But the biggest struggle for us was the smoking ban. We heard, I think we'd been in business for like 5 or 6 months when we heard that there might be a citywide smoking ban in Springfield. And struggling through that as a small business and a 27-year-old trying to deal with all of the legislation, going to city council meetings and meeting with the mayor and the health department. That was my biggest struggle. It was heartbreaking to think that we had a business, we had a successful business. We had already shown good growth, above average growth for a new business. And to have legislation come down that could potentially shut us down because it banned all indoor smoking, which is where a lot of our revenue comes from, is actually the physical smoking of the hookah here in the shop. And so it was nerve-wracking. And I couldn't fathom how a city would want to put forth legislation that would stifle a small business. And so thankfully, we were able to get an exemption, but it was after a 14-month interim period where we operated kind of as a speakeasy, just kept our heads down and put curtains over the windows so that nobody knew what we were doing. But eventually we did get an exemption in May of 2012, which allowed us to continue with business as usual and not have the looming fear of we're going to be shut down. I think that what it came down to with there was a group of people that just didn't want to be inundated with smoke when they went to TGI Fridays. I can understand that. I don't like smelling stale cigarettes when I'm out having dinner with my family either. I choose to go to a non-smoking restaurant if I wanted to have that. I can respect somebody not wanting to be around it, but if you come into our shop, you know that you're going to be around smoke. And so as an adult, I feel like that's a decision that should be left to an individual, and if they choose to patronize a business that allows smoking, that's on them. And if a business chooses to allow smoking, that's the business's choice. So I disagree with the fact that it's something that should be legislated, but I'm thankful that the city saw fit to give us an exemption and give those people that did want a facility to smoke inside somewhere to go. Otherwise, I mean, it's just going to people outside on the street. We had when the smoking ban came into effect, we had a civil obedience rally where we took our hookahs outside, smoked on the sidewalk, smoked on the patios, and like this is where they're telling us that they want to be. Everybody that's passing by on the sidewalk is now around this, where if we were inside, you would have to physically come into our shop. So it was a weird thing to go through.